Hello, everybody. Scott and Golden here with the World Class Championship Wrestling Review Series. We have entered into the month of June of 1986. We have, I think it's 217, 18, something like that, episodes of World Class up and running, and we are going to have the entire run here, hopefully, within the next couple of weeks at the latest. I'm hoping to get this series done to move on to something else sometime in October, and the sooner the better as far as I'm concerned, because the end of this world-class run has been starting to get brutal. I think summer is going to be of '86 is where it turns the corner for me, just based on what I've seen thus far. I've watched up until right at the beginning of August, and I'm starting to see why people aren't a fan. Anyway, 4 segments here. First run this time around. Killer Brooks and Matt Bourne. Matt Bourne, of course, son of Tough Tony Bourne, the impetus behind the Doink the Clown character from the early 90s. Killer Tim Brooks, a mainstay in the area. They faced the Barton twins, who are difficult to tell apart, at least for me at this point. So we're going to kind of acknowledge that and realize I might make mistakes along the way because they do look extremely similar. Anyway, they do end up, the Bartons over the next 2 or 3 years through the end of World Class are a bit of I don't know if I'd say a boon to business, but they certainly are guys who, for the most part, are regarded well and do end up becoming reasonably a big part of World Class during the last few years. Drop kick by one of them. Bourne bumping all over the place for them. Obviously, Matt Bourne by this point has been around the world, been to Portland, been to Mid-South, been to the WWF, done just about everything. Always struck me as kind of sad that Bourne never really got as much out of his career that I think he should have. Obviously, some substance abuse issues and very outspoken talent, and he's passed away. I don't remember how many years ago now, but he's passed away, and it always strikes me as sad. I think he could have been a great mind for the business somewhere, and I've actually had a chance to speak to a couple of his wrestling school students when he had a school, and definitely a guy who was a big deal. But they cut the ring off, they being Brooks and Bourne, cut the ring off on their adversaries pretty quickly. Bourne uses almost like a shoot-style throw on one of the kids, so I don't know if he ended up getting a little out of hand, or if he just did a really good job there. But there is kind of a shoot-style throw early. They get almost 10 minutes out of this match, which for younger guys is a major accomplishment. Of course, legends and guys who came up in the 70s and 80s could do that. You can't, everything has to be called in the back now, which is really sad. Odd to see Matt Bourne also hit a military press near the close of this match, about 7.5 minutes in or so to the program. Just not a move that I normally would see Bourne end up hitting, but he does, and it's pretty cool. Drop kick by one of the Bartons, who tries to make who tries to make a tag. There's struggle to make the tag. Obviously, they end up making the, I don't know that I'd say hot tag, but the tag does end up occurring. And a vicious clothesline. One thing that Bourne does really well is he always used to take kind of a flat butt bump off more aggressive clotheslines. It's just an interesting thing. Proof that you can make every move, even the most basic, your own. But again, the heels do cut off the ring quite well. Interesting that this seems to be kind of a tradition. About twice a year, World Class will bring in a bunch of new talent or returning talent and get a good bit out of it. And this happens here this week. But the hot tag does happen about 11 minutes or so into the program. I like 1 hour programs. I like 90-minute programs. 2 hour programs a little too long for my liking. There's a drop kick here that almost shoots over the shoulder of the adversary, and one bat and twin on the top rope hits a high cross body. 1, 2, and 3 right in the middle of the ring, and the new babyface team is successful. Then we move on to a bit of I'd say a house show match. Abdullah the Butcher is back in town. Abby, a guy who I've never been a fan of, I'll be completely honest. Basically, he is punch, kick, and stab. We see Bruiser, or Jerry Allen, is the victim. We come in the middle of this, and he's stabbing him with the fork, and he's bloody. Is Allen all over the place, and that's to be expected. The referee having difficulty dealing with Abdullah, and it is what it is. But Abby is a guy who I'm sure he drew lots of money in Japan, but not a guy that I really. Number one, I'm not a blood and guts guy. Number two, if you're going to do blood and guts, have more to your career than that. And I never saw Abdullah have anything more than blood and guts. I just, it's just not there. But anyway, referee has a lot of difficulty handling things. Gary Hart is the one that brings Abdullah back to the area. Obviously, Abdullah does not speak, therefore needs a manager, and Gary Hart, a good one. We had not seen him in the world-class run. He has done at Texas before during the big-time wrestling days, so the fans are familiar with him. Little bit of a spoiler on a show that's 30-plus years old. But anyway, basically brought back for a run with Bruiser Brody, which in the time where we're only a couple months away from Kerry Von Erich having issues with his ankle and his foot, the amputation of his foot due to the motorcycle accident. So having something for Brody to do, a good idea. Anyway, Abdullah ends up getting the victory with the elbow drop. Then we go to the semi-main event. Newcomer Blackjack Mulligan against Mark Youngblood. Mulligan, a guy who, territory guy throughout several territories. Percy Pringle being Mulligan's manager is a big deal. Obviously, the Blackjacks, Lanza and Mulligan, the WWF Tag Team Champions in the 70s. Mulligan's been around for a while. Of course, father to Barry and Kendall Windham. Grandfather to current day Bo Dallas and Bray Wyatt, just to put the lineage there. Lots of good talent would not exist without the benefit of Blackjack Mulligan. So just acknowledging history there for our younger listeners and people who are unaware. And Percy Pringle actually chewing gum at ringside, so he's not terribly worried about his new man's ability to handle what's in front of him. Clubbing shots by Blackjack. Blackjack obviously tries to gain every advantage he can. He locks in nerve holds and the like. Youngblood, who is a relative, I wouldn't say newcomer, certainly kind of a mainstay by this point, mid-card babyface, a good fodder for Mulligan here. They kind of go through with each other, and meanwhile they head to the outside of the ring. Percy Pringle with a Hawaiian shirt and a cane is an interesting combination. Pringle trying to coach his man through. Big double chops by the benefit of the good old Youngblood, and a little leaping back elbow gets things going back the right way if you're Percy Pringle and team. Then the use of the head claw gets a victory for Blackjack Mulligan. Then we move to the main event. Rick Rude and Kabuki, what an interesting combination, against Lance Von Erich and Chris Adams. Adams still wearing the eye patch from the burning nature of things. Also, Gary Hart out with an apology for the actions of Abdullah the Butcher, says he paid a $10,000 fine, warns Lance Von Erich, warns everybody that Abdullah being back is bad for business. Rick Rude is still your America's champion. We then kind of see Sunshine out with Lance Von Erich and Chris Adams. I don't really understand Sunshine lasting as long as she has. I don't know if she was married to somebody or what the deal was, or maybe they just wanted a woman in tow. Anyway, Kabuki has moved away from Michael Hayes. Hayes, I don't think any longer with the promotion. I think by this point in '86, he's back with what became the UWF. Anyway, Percy Pringle outside, unhappy with the fact that Lance Von Erich is going to town on Kabuki, holds on to the arm, and then Chris Adams comes in. Adams gets dominated for the first few minutes by Rude and Kabuki both. Seems like they are setting up Rude and Adams. You can tell just by commentary a little bit. Rude and Adams for the championship. A big back body drop by Adams and a hot tag to Von Erich. Still interesting that Adams having to wear the eye patch from the issue with the late Gino Hernandez. Good vertical suplex on Kabuki by Lance Von Erich, and Von Erich tries to get as much of a advantage as he can. Rude comes back in, breaks things down with a bear hug. Rude comes back in and is dominant for a few minutes. Tag back to Kabuki, who hits a swinging neck breaker, and Lance and Rude actually are your, I believe, final sequence. Sleeper attempt by Von Erich. Meanwhile, Adams comes in, takes care of Kabuki. The referee loses all control in the matchup, and with about 2 minutes or so remaining in the program, we've got all four guys in the ring. Nothing really gets done there. Rude does manage to gain just the barest of victories, and Lance Von Erich drops the fall. We'll be back with more World Class right after this.